Hey everybody, Shaman.
And
My dog was about to bark.
Yeah. The dogs are like, hey, what's going on? Toby. So we are the connected relationship
I don't know who we are.
with two dogs who are very interested in something that is happening at the door.
This is what happens when you do a live and the dogs are in the room with you.
You know, it is.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna do. We introduced last week the Monday money check-in.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago we talked about
Maybe
the
a couple weeks.
Monday money meeting.
Whatever,
Monday money meeting.
whatever it was.
It took me a long time to come up with that.
I just can't say it.
No, you can't. It's hard to say. It is hard to say.
It's just Monday money.
It is the Monday money meeting, and it's creating just a regular, ongoing conversation
about money.
And that can be hard sometimes. You know, sometimes these conversations can feel like, you know, when you take too big of a bite of something and it just kind of gets stuck right there.
Right. Well, I mean, I think if
and you're like
I think if anything is vulnerable, talking about money is vulnerable. But I it's probably the most important conversation, or one of the most important conversations you can have in a relationship.
Super important. I mean, it's an important element of our individual lives, and then you know, when you bring two individual lives together in a relationship. Right. And there are lots of different ways that couples do money. I mean, I think it's important to say, like, some couples have joint accounts, some couples have their individual accounts and joint accounts. I mean, there's many different ways of doing financial life together as there are couples. Right.
I think it's fair to say not one size does not fit all in this scenario, and nor should it.
Right.
You know, I think the important piece of this is that you have a plan.
Yeah.
And that plan works for you.
That you're intentional about talking about it.
Right.
So we talked before about getting the origin story, your partner's origin story about money, about finances.
Right.
What did financial things, what did money look like in your house growing up?
Right, because that informs a lot about how you handle money now.
Yeah,
right.
So getting the backstory, and then that gives you a better understanding about your partner and kind of their idiosyncrasies around money, what makes them a saver or a spender, what makes, you know, it just gives us a better understanding, I think.
Right, and today I think the natural progression off that is, so where does that take you? Like, what's the goal?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So setting goals and setting a vision for how you handle money and discuss money and.
Yeah. So coming together. So what we wanted to talk about today is coming together and having a conversation about each of your financial goals.
Right.
Goals about money, goals about saving, goals about retirement, goals about how you want to spend the collective money, all of that. Right,
because that's the kind of thing that informs goals, period, right? Like, what's your vision and your goal for your relationship? Well, I mean, in this day and age, it's going to involve money.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, how much is it important for you to save? How much do you want to be able to spend? What are some of the things that are important for you to spend your money on?
Right. And what are maybe important things for you not to spend your money on?
Right. And then what is a budget that goes along with that? So after you have the conversation about goals, then you can kind of sit down and do a numbers thing.
Right.
Not sexy, but you know.
Yeah, it's not much fun, but it's very necessary. And you kind of both have to buy into that process.
Right. And again, that's what is helpful about having the previous conversations about your partner's origin story, about money, but it's good to have that kind of underlying understanding about all things money. Right.
So, I mean, in our case, you know, as we've gone through different phases of life, it's kind of necessitated different times of, okay, let's refocus how we look at our finances and what's going on in our financial life and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you know, as we've gone through that, it's a living conversation. It never ends.
Right.
And you know, we've changed processes a few times.
Yeah.
You know, now we're going to do this. Now we're going to do that.
You kind of tweak things. This is what works during this stage in the relationship. things change. I mean, we've recently entered empty nesting, and things look different financially with adult children and college and, you know, all of those things than they did 10 years ago when we were in the thick of raising, you know, school-age kids.
Oh, we're having 2 teenage boys that are eating you out of house and home.
That is no joke right there. You want to talk about a grocery bill that's higher than your mortgage.
Yeah, my mom said that'll be your most expensive thing. And I was like, nah,
accurate.
but she was accurate.
That was accurate. Right. So, and the reason we call it the Monday Money Meeting is this is a circle back conversation. It's good to have a routine, a habit, maybe not weekly, but you know, you want to do a regular, maybe monthly check-in, at least monthly check-in on, hey, we've identified this budget. This is where we've agreed that we're going to spend our money. Let's just do a check-in to see how that's going. And doing a check-in with like, okay, here are the numbers, here are the facts, and you know, let's kind of reassess. Let's go, you know, go back to it. Where do we need to tweak? Where do we need to adjust? Right,
and I mean, as an example, we have been kind of picking a few areas that we wanted to do a little better on spending, and so the two of us were just logging what we were spending in those areas, like just, I mean, like shopping, and it was a weird category, but just general shopping for junk that you know wasn't groceries. Discretionary spending. So you know we were kind of keeping a log of what we spent, and then on Monday we sit down and go, I spent all this, and then Yolanda, I spent all this, and we'd be like, well, crap, we spent a lot. And then,
well, how does that fit in with what we had agreed to as our budget? Right. Like, hey, we did great this week, or oh man, we can, you know, pull it back together. But that way you're not like months down the road. Right.
I was just about to say, you can make adjustments on that. It kind of keeps your eyes on it, keeps you focused to go, oh wow, we're doing really good, or no, we're not doing so good. And another category was eating out, right? Like, because we love to eat out. So, you know, it was like, hey, we ate out this much this month. We need to slow down. Or, hey, we're doing great. Let's go out to eat.
Yeah.
You know?
And it, you know, it can, a lot of the friction around conversations and in relationships comes around finances and money, and it can be a big stressor on a relationship.
Right.
So these are some tips and tools that you can put into place that are doable. You know, again, you know, a lot of times we kind of get overwhelmed. We get that big chunk of food in our throat because we try to like chomp down the whole thing at once.
Right.
Where if we break up the conversation, if we do it regularly, instead of letting things build.
Right. And that's the key, right? That communication.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not a one and done kind of thing.
Right. Communication, if you haven't figured that out watching us, is like probably the key to everything in a relationship. But, you know, particularly in finances, if it's an ongoing conversation, if it's a living conversation, and you continue to talk about it and you continue to dial these things in, no matter what process or procedure or whatever you're using, it doesn't really matter. As long as you communicate about it, you can be on the same sheet of music about it.
Right.
And then you can kind of know where you are on what your goals are. No matter what those goals are, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So
your relationship challenge for today is to sit down with your partner, have another Monday Money Meeting.
Yeah, I can't say it.
Monday Money Meeting. Talk about your financial goals and use one of those great apps. There's a ton of great apps.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend Mint. Mint is a fantastic budgeting tool and tracking your finances tool. And you can even, in Mint, set your vision and goals, you know, which is awesome.
And just put it on the calendar. It doesn't have to be a Monday, but put it on the calendar so that you can touch base on those goals and your budgets and how you're doing with it.
Yep.
Happy Monday.
And we'll see you guys later.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.